Hello and welcome, my name is Z. Today I took a trip to the flea market and I bought a ton of comics. I also bought a ton of Pokemon cards, which I'll be unboxing in a separate video as well. In this video I'll be showcasing the comics that I bought today, rebagging and boarding, and I'll also be covering some of the mistakes I made while buying comics. I'll go ahead and touch on the very first mistake right now, and that's taking your family with you to shop for comics. That's definitely not what you want to do. You want to be in a mindset where you don't feel rushed or pressured because your kids gotta pee, they barely can stand, your wife's bored or tired. So it's best to always go comic shopping by yourself where you can really take the time to browse what's there and really inspect the comics and take your time. The first issue I have here is Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. This is issue number 1. This is the only issue for this series. So I paid about $20 for it, which is, based on where you look, it's kind of right around market value. I do feel like I kind of overpaid for it. There are some issues with the comic. You do see some fading going on. There is a little crease down at the bottom. So it's not a terrible comic, but it's also not really that great also. And I feel like I paid a little bit more than I probably should, but this kind of goes into my next mistake is when you're going comic shopping is make sure you have knowledge of what you're buying. If you don't know what you're purchasing, if you don't know what value it is, how much it costs, then it's probably best to not buy it because you may end up paying a little more than you're comfortable. Now, like I said, I think this is right at market value, but it's almost like a regret purchase. It's like, dang, I think I might have paid a little more than I should have. So you definitely want to make sure you know what you're getting into when you're buying a certain comic. The next issue I have is the Mighty Thor number 432. This is actually a key issue, so it's something that as an avid Thor collector, I kind of have to have. And I paid about $6 for it. So this right here is right around market value, maybe like a little bit under. Most of them on eBay, they're listed for like maybe $12. So, but the ones that sold, I probably paid right around market value for it. Like I said, it is a key issue for Thor, and I am the Thor collector, so I have to have it anyway. No regrets with purchasing this. It is not in the best condition, and that's kind of to be expected, but it's also not in really bad condition at all. There's some couple of spine ticks there with some color breaking, but overall the face of it looks pretty decent. A little bit of fading towards the bottom. Nothing too bad, at least at first glance. So I'm pretty happy with this purchase. No complaints there. Here I have the Mighty Thor issue number 330. I paid about $4 for this, so based on like recent sales, that's well under market value. So I'm pretty happy about that. However, the condition of it isn't that great. It's quite dirty. You can see it definitely needs to be pressed. It needs to be cleaned. There's a couple stains on it that need to come out. The spine is kind of, it's not too bad. There's not too many spine ticks on it, but it's not in the best condition. However, I did get it for a great price. It is a key issue for Thor, so it's something that I have to have. So I couldn't avoid getting it. This is the first appearance of Crusader. Key issue there, $4, under market value. I'm not too mad at it. So they'll definitely get pressed and cleaned at some point, and that will ultimately at least, raise its value a little bit. Next, I have an Action Comics issue number 402. I believe I paid right around $5, maybe $4 for it, which is pretty much at market value. Based on sales, it goes anywhere from like $5 to $10, so that's not too bad. But I guess this will lead me to my next mistake, and that's that all old comics have high value points, and that's definitely not the case. I mean, this is kind of one of those scenarios where you think that because this is Action Comics, because it's Superman, because of its age, that it would have like some high value, but it actually doesn't. So it's kind of not the right mindset to go into when you're looking at things like this. Like I said, that you want to know exactly what you're getting into as far as what you're buying. Like what value does it have? What kind of sales is it? How much is it worth? There's just so much that goes into it that I didn't consider, but I picked it up because it's Action Comic, and I kind of did think it was worth a little bit more, but in the end, it's actually not. So it's not a key issue at all. The condition of it's not too bad. There's some rust around the spine where the staples are. So it definitely needs some cleaning there. There's some color breaks in the cover as well. It's not a horrible issue, especially for its age, but it's definitely not the best. But it's not a bad purchase either, because I didn't pay too much for. So next I have an issue of Marvel Team Up featuring Spider-Man and Doctor Doom. This is issue number 43. So this comic sells for anywhere between, let's say, $4 all the way to $20. A graded copy did sell not too long ago for right around about $85. And the grade of this one, it's not terrible, not too bad. It's probably right around the same grade as that copy that sold. But I paid probably anywhere between $3 to $5, I want to say. I bought them in bulk, so that's why I don't know the exact pricing. I can only kind of average it out. So it was anywhere from $3 to $4, but not too bad of an issue. You do see some, looks like a color spill by Doctor Doom's arm. The N on Spider-Man has some red there. The spine is not too bad, not too many spine ticks. You do have a little tiny tear right at the top there. Overall, this is a pretty decent comic. Doesn't look too bad at all, especially for its age. This is like a comic from 1976 or something like that. Definitely pretty good for its age, good for the price. This was a good buy here. There's kind of a lesson to be learned also, and that's not every comic that you purchase have to have high value, because there's another aspect of comics that while I was browsing and shopping, I wasn't taking into account, but that's also, trading. There's people who, some of these older comics, people who want to get them, and maybe they have comics you want and they'll want your comics. So there is the trading aspect of it. And I don't know how good this is for trade bait, but I have it in my arsenal now. So if there is someone looking for it, that can be a possible trade towards something that I want, like a Thor issue for my collection, or I can perhaps trade up and get a comic of value. Next is another Marvel team up featuring Spider-Man and Nighthawk. This is issue number 33. This is another comic that was part of my bulk. So I think I paid probably right around the same price as the other ones, right about $3 to $5. And based on like recent sales, it's selling upwards of about 7 to, I want to say 14 for like fines and some very fines. This issue, let me see, it's not in the best condition. A lot of these aren't, but like I said, there's another aspect of comics, and that's the trading part of it. But there are some spine ticks which causes color break. The comic is quite a bit dirty. It definitely needs a press as well, but overall it's not terrible. Based on this, it'll probably come out maybe like a 5, probably like a 5.0, maybe 5.5 or 6. So I mean, it's not terrible. But like I said, it's also that potential trade value. So it definitely wasn't a loss for me. I'm pretty happy I picked that up. Spider-Man is a very popular superhero, actually probably the most popular superhero. So there's always somebody looking for Spider-Man. So I think this was a good pickup. Next, I have New Universe. This is Starbrand. This is his first issue. So this is a key issue for the character. Though it's a key issue, it's not that valuable. I guess the character hasn't really picked up too much yet. So there's not really any value in this comic. I only paid $1 for the issue, and it sells probably right around $8 to $10 ungraded. Some of the graded copies have sold about 89. I can't remember what grade they were. This one probably, based on it, I mean, it's not too bad. There's some spine ticks, and it's a black cover, so those cause color break. It's a bit dirty, and I think the back probably has some damage to it a little bit, but it's not a bad copy, but it is a key issue, so I figured I'd go ahead and pick it up. He actually had 2 of these there. I was gonna get both of them, but I just got one. Like I said, it's not too much value, so it's there if it ever gains value, or it could be trade bait, either or. Here's Tales to Astonish starring the Submariner. This is issue number 7, and this is actually a key issue, and it's in pretty terrible shape. There's a lot of spine damage. There's a piece of it missing from the top. There's some color breaks there. It's definitely in really bad shape, but I only paid $2 for it, so I can't really complain about that. I bought this at the first shop in the flea market that I went to. She just had a little small collection of comics, and I found this. So it was $2, so I picked it up. When I went to the second shop, I actually saw another issue of this, but I didn't know that I already had purchased it, but I didn't pick it up. I just left it and went about my shopping. But yeah, come to find out that this is a key issue, and it can be worth something if it's in pretty good condition, but this one is not. So it's probably not worth much. I'll probably go back to the other shop and pick up that issue, because that one he probably would have sold me for like $1. So that's going to be in the plans. Go back and get a second copy of that, which is going to be better. Next, I have Marvel 2-in-1 presents The Thing and the Mighty Thor. I got this more for my personal collection. I think it's a pretty cool comic cover. I like it a lot. I paid probably only $1 for it. It's only worth maybe like $5. So no real value here, but it's Thor, so it's definitely, it has to go in my collection. It's not a key comic, but I couldn't pass up, a collaboration with The Thing and Thor, so definitely had to get that there. The condition of it is not too bad either. Like, based on first glance, it's a pretty clean comic, especially for its age. There really isn't much going on with it. A few spine ticks, like some very minor color break, but yeah, first glance is not too bad. Definitely needs a clean and press. All these comics need to be cleaned and pressed. I mean, they also kind of have like a smell to them as well, that it's not really pleasant. But yeah, this is a pretty good pickup, especially like for my collection. Fantastic Four issue 177. The gap is huge. You can find one that's about 99 cents. Then you could find it upwards of like $10. Very big deficit there, but I picked it up with that mindset that old Fantastic Four comics have high value. What I wasn't taking into account is that old key Fantastic Four comics from like the 1960s have value. Not all old Fantastic Four comics. So I bought this kind of thinking it was one of those ones with value, but it is not. So this goes back to that mistake of making sure that you know exactly what it is you're buying, like knowing whether it's a key issue or not, knowing whether it holds the value that you think it does. And this comic certainly does not. However, I mean, it is Fantastic Four. They're very popular. And I can definitely use it for trade bait if I need to. Otherwise, it's just going to be in my collection. It's not a terrible comic. I mean, there's quite a bit going on with it. It's probably pretty low grade, maybe like a 4, maybe like a 4 to 5, I would say. You got some kind of tearing where Reed Richards is. There's some fine ticks. There's some color breaking. Needs a press. But like I said, I mean, I didn't pay much for it, so it's a good buy. It's a good buy, although my mindset when purchasing it was definitely off. Next, I have The Adventures of Superman issue 497. And this is an issue with Doomsday in it. I paid $5 for it, which I think is a pretty decent price. However, this is going to be another mistake, and that is not inspecting the comics thoroughly, especially something like this. So with this one, I kind of have buyer's remorse because I didn't pay attention to where Superman's legs are, like right on his thighs. It looks like someone had like wet fingers and was just holding the comic there until their fingerprints kind of rub the color off of it. So there's like huge color loss there. And then there's a tear right on the edge of the comic as well. A few spine ticks. There's like a crease in the bottom that causes color break. So really the issue is those things are huge, especially the fingerprints on them. So I am genuinely kind of like upset about this one. I'm not upset about the price, but just the condition compared to the price and the fact that he had, I think, maybe 3 other copies there. And I picked this one. I guess I thought it looked the best, but I didn't inspect it thoroughly enough. And yeah, clearly I'm paying for that now because it has those goddamn fingerprints, dude. That's so upsetting. So perhaps I'll go back and pick up another copy that he has that's better. I might give this to my son. Yeah, this is upsetting. Oh my god, and I didn't even see this. There's a tear right where Superman's headbutting Doomsday. There's like a gash coming out of it. Oh my god, this is terrible. Yeah, so this was a fail, and that's due to not inspecting the comic thoroughly. I'll be giving this to my son. Next, I have an issue of Superman's pal, the new Jimmy Olsen, and this is issue number 142. I didn't pay a lot for it, but there's definitely a lesson to be learned here. First, the grade of the comic is not that great. You got a lot of spine ticks. There's color breaking. It needs a press, needs a clean. The staples have some rust there. Not a great issue as far as grade, but this is kind of one of those ones where I also made that mistake of researching key issues, seeing that the Superman's pals, titled the new Jimmy Olsen, those have like high values, but it's the key issues, not just any Superman's pal. So I kind of made that mistake with this one. Also, another mistake that I made is the seller of the comics was using a guide to look up the comics values. Now, on my behalf, I should have spoken up and asked what guide was he using, you know, to make sure the year for one was current, but also, you know, what was he basing the price on? Was he basing it on CGC grades? Because with this comic, he had said that, oh, this comic's worth $40. He didn't sell it to me for that. He sold it to me for like, I want to say maybe like $5, which is fine. But he said the comic value was right about $5. And I didn't really ask any questions. I didn't really press. I guess I just wasn't comfortable or confident enough to do so because I was going in there blind. I was picking up things that I had no clue what they were, but I was looking for these values, and I didn't ask some of the good questions that could help me to not overpay for something that I shouldn't overpay for. I don't think $4 to $5 for this comic is overpaying. So he wasn't scamming me at all. I mean, he was telling me what their prices, what their value was, but he was charging me much less. So I'm just kind of curious of where was he pulling those values from. I did look on eBay as far as recent sales. None of them touch anywhere close to $40. So that's what's kind of getting my gears turning as far as, you know, I should have asked those questions. Ask what guide are you using, from what year, and how are you getting these values. All in all, like I said, he wasn't scamming me, but in the future, and for you too, make sure that if someone's trying to tell you what something's worth, for one, make sure you ask questions, but also two, if you don't know the value of something you're picking up, then maybe you shouldn't pick it up. Here I have Supergirl starring in Adventure Comics. This is issue number 396, and I think I paid right around $10 for this, and that's kind of overvalue, I want to say. I think I paid a little more than I absolutely should for this comic. Based on recent sales, issues that are in far better condition than this sell for right about $10. This was another one of those mistakes where, you know, like I said, he's using the guide. He's telling me this comic, if it was good, it's worth this much. I'll charge you this much. And in my head, I'm just like, okay, cool. You know, it's worth X amount, but you're charging me so much less because it's in trash condition. Like, this comic is terrible. It's in terrible condition. Yeah, it's kind of like, so where my mindset was, right? And so I'm watching pros. I'm watching people like Comic Tom, who I love, by the way. He's funny as crap. But I'm watching, you know, pros like them buy comics, you know, that's missing covers, that's just absolute trash. And they're like, yeah, this issue, you know, even graded as a 1 is worth like $1,000, you know. And that's kind of where my mindset was. It's like, man, you know, this comic is worth X amount. I'm getting it for this much. You know, maybe if I get it graded, you know, get it pressed clean, and it may have that, you know, that value that I'm looking for. But that's definitely not the case. That's another mistake. You know, it's a mistake of not knowing what I'm buying. I could have bought this issue for in a much better condition, probably for the same price or less, if I would have just looked, you know. So lessons learned, though. I'm not unhappy with the purchase. I mean, this is a very old comic, so I'm not too unhappy with it. I do think I paid a little bit more than I should based on the condition, but overall it's part of the collection. So hey, the Saga of the Submariner, issue number 7. This is another one of those comics where I saw some names that usually hold value. I saw the Submariner. His comics can hold value. I saw Fantastic Four, so my mind just kind of thought, hey, this is going to be value right here. This is it. But in reality, it's not. But it's not too bad. I only paid, I think, like $2 for it. So, you know, I got a good price on it. It is in pretty good shape. For its age, it's not bad at all. I don't really see too much going on. It's a white cover, so a lot of the like spine ticks or color breaks, they're quite hard to see, but I honestly don't see any. I think this is a really good issue, a really good copy. Perhaps getting it cleaned and pressed, you know, could just have it hold its value. But as of right now, it's not worth too much. It's probably worth like $6. But overall, that's not a bad purchase. I'm pretty happy with this one. So this Spider-Man Clone Saga, this is issue 6 of 6. So this is the last issue for the series. So my wife was helping me. You know, I'm like, I'm finding Spider-Mans, I'm finding all these different comics. I'm like, hey, look up the cost of this. We're trying to do it on the fly. I'm like, look up the cost of this. You know, how much, you know, is it going for? How much has it recently sold for? So she looks this one up, and you know, we were getting it for like $1. It recently has sold for, you know, right around like 12. So we're like, you know, that's some pretty good spread right there. That's not too bad. It's Spider-Man. Spider-Man's always good. And so I just told her like, all right, yeah, keep that one there. I didn't inspect it at all. I just I let her do her thing, and I wasn't even thinking about, you know, the condition of it. So for one, this is a pretty new comic. It's not like it's, you know, silver or gold or anything like that. Not gold. Yeah, silver or gold age. This is modern, you know, so it's a pretty new comic. And as I get it home and look at it, there's like basically a separation of the front cover and the back cover right at the top. There's also quite a bit of color breaking and spine ticks, like right on the spine. So you know, like it's been read quite a bit. So overall, it's just really not a good issue. This copy's pretty low grade. So when I saw that, I was like, dang, you know, it's almost like $12 going out the door, but it's fine. I only got it for $1, so I'll be also giving this one to my son. Buckaroo Banzai, issue number 1. This is a comic adaptation of the film. I personally don't know what this story is about. I've never seen the film. I have no interest in it. Just seeing that it was $1 and that it sells for roughly right around 12 to 19, you could say. I was like, hey, you know, this is good value. Let me go ahead and grab it. They didn't have the second issue there. They sell better as a pair. You sell for more money as a pair, but it's a nice thing to just have. I think it's probably good trade bait. There might be someone looking for this number 1. Heck, I might look for the number 2 and try to complete the set or help someone complete their set. I don't know. Overall, you know, not really a bad purchase. The condition of the comic is actually pretty good for it not being stored in a bag. So, I mean, I can't really complain too much about it. It's in pretty good shape. It is a first issue of a 2-issue limited series. So, hey, can't be too mad at it. And I got it for a good price. So, pretty happy with this purchase. So that is it for this video. I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you did, hopefully you learned some things to look out for when you're shopping for comics, especially at flea markets. Hopefully these mistakes that I've made, you won't have to make. I go through it so you wouldn't do it after me. No, but I appreciate you guys sticking around. If you did, leave a like, comment, and subscribe down below, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.